Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Matt. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Now I've got a different kind of book I'm reviewing for you today. I picked up this book a few years ago, and recently a viewer named Mark Shannon left a comment and said, hey, you should check out this book. It's a great one. I think your viewers would like it. And I thought that is a good idea. I really like the book, and I think a lot of you folks out there will too. But I haven't gotten around to reviewing it yet because it's different from most of the books that I've been reviewing here. It is not a how-to book. It is very specifically a history book. And the book I'm talking about is Ian Whitelaw's The History of Fly Fishing in 50 Flies. So a little bit about this book. It was published in 2015. It's 224 pages. And of course, it's got 50 flies in it. And the very first fly in here was from 1496. It's Dame Juliana Berners. It's a stonefly. We've talked about Dame Juliana Berners before and several of her flies. Then he goes into, I think, 3 flies from the 1500s. But one of the things that's really interesting about the book is that he talks not just about tying, but the history of fishing, fly fishing, the state of the art in the 1500s. You know, what kind of rods and reels and how did they make the line back in the 1500s? And one of the first flies they talk about from the 1500s is the palmer worm. So the format of the book is he's got a drawing of the fly, then he talks a little bit about maybe what it would imitate, and then several pages on how the fly came about, you know, who were the first tiers and who used it first. So really just there's a picture of the fly and then a recipe and then 3 or 4 pages on the history of it. Now, the next major section was the state of fly fishing in the 1800s. So this is where it starts to, you know, really get into a little bit more of what we consider modern fly fishing. You know, we've got reels now, and we've got, he talks about how did they make fly lines back then. And a lot of the patterns that he talks about in the 1800s are ones that most of us have heard of. The Blay and Black, Ogden's Fancy, Stewart's Spider, Greenwell's Glory. Some of these really old classic flies that we still tie and fish today. So let's just flip through a few of these. We've got, there's the Blay and Black. Ogden's Fancy right here. A couple of pages on James Ogden and how he created this fly. Stewart's Spider, an old North Country spider. We've done a few of those on the channel. We've got the Royal Coachman created by John Haley in 1878 from New York. Then really the bulk of the book starts in about 1900. I think he's got 32 flies in here from the 1900s. He leads off talking about, you know, what were the rods and reels like back in the early 1900s? Who were some of the manufacturers? And a little bit of the history on all this stuff. And of course, he talks about the individual flies and their histories. You've got Tupp's Indispensable there. A lot of us have heard of that one. And there are some, you know, pictures. It's not all drawings. There are plenty of pictures of the flies in here. We've got the March Brown by G.E.M. Skews, created in 1906. The Bass Popper, Ernest Peckinpah, created this thing in 1915 from Tennessee. Now, I haven't tied this for the channel yet, but we've mentioned Ernest Peckinpah before. And of course, you got to talk about the Adams, created by Leonard Halliday in 1922 from Michigan. That is one of the most famous flies ever created. Here's the Gray Ghost, Muddler Minnow, Tom Thumb. And then we've got a Matuka Streamer, created by some anonymous fly tyer in New Zealand in the 1950s. And how he's got the book laid out, it's pretty much chronological. We've got Dave's Hopper there, created in 1959 by Dave Whitelaw. And then after the flies from the 1900s, he does have 3 or 4 flies that were created since the year 2000. So, in a nutshell, who is this book for? Well, like I said, it is not a how-to book. A brand new tyer, I would not recommend this being your first book. You're not going to grab this and then really learn how to tie flies. But for an intermediate or novice tyer, yeah, you can look at these flies and read the recipe and pretty much figure out how to tie them. And for anyone at all who's interested in the history of these patterns and how our sport came to be where it is today, then absolutely, it's a great book to have. Now, as of today, March 2021, the book is available on Amazon for only about $20. And it's a very solid, well put together hardback, very well researched, and it's just a pleasure to read. Okay. So since I like to give away books on this channel, just to say thank you and to give back a little bit to the fly tying community, and February was a pretty good month for the channel. Picked up about 500 new subscribers. We're getting about 40,000 views a month. And I know that's not really in the same league as Davy McPhail or Barry Ord Clark, but for a channel that's only been around a year, I'm pretty happy with these numbers. So the channel has made just a little bit of money this month. I'd like to give out 5 copies of this to any of you folks out there who are interested in the history of fly tying. So if you're new here, you're not sure how these work, it's pretty simple. In this case, I'm just asking you to leave a comment in this video, use the hashtag history. Today is Sunday, March 7th, 2021. I will do the drawing tomorrow night, March 8th at about 10 o'clock p.m. I'll go to the random comment picker and pick out 5 names and get a copy of this book in the mail to you. It's just my way of saying thank you for supporting the channel. All of you folks who watch all the videos, leave a thumbs up and leave a comment. That really does help the channel grow. It helps YouTube to push it out there to more folks. And I just want to say thanks to all you folks who do that. So I hope some of you will be interested in winning this book. It really is a great book if you're interested in the history of our sport. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.